we're going to be talking about some astrology and the power of belief. So first, let's talk about some of these transits, and let's go ahead and get prepared for some of these upcoming energies that's going to be taking place, because you know the moon is in late degree Scorpio right now, and with the moon being in late degree Scorpio, this is going to be us getting influenced by the Cancerian type of energies. So with the late degrees, 20 through 30 degrees, we're going to be getting influenced by Cancer. So this is going to be us having to transform some emotional state that we may have been rooted in, that may have been accumulated negative toxic seeds and auras around us, that in one to one third dimension, if we stay in that space too long, we may end up, you know, putting ourselves or creating a circumstance or a situation or manifesting spirits via individuals, people, places, and things that represents that state of being into our life to show us that these are the things that we have to transform. And if we don't take power and control and transform that energy, we're going to end up being the one that gets transformed negatively or positively. So we got to make sure that we're the ones actually taking transformation over these energies, so we won't end up being the one getting taken power and control over and being transformed, and however they may play out. Because when it comes to the moon being in Scorpio, the moon in Scorpio is going to be having us more self-aware of energies and things that deals with our deep desires, our deep passions, our deep motives, things that things that deals with secrets, and we may not have a healthy way of expressing these things. So it may look like we're hiding something. It may look like we're hiding a deep emotion. It may come across to other individuals like we're trying to hide something or we're in secret. So everybody's going to be in a space of feeling like somebody is hiding something, or they may attract others to look at them like they're hiding something. But it's just the moon energy that's kind of sheltering us and playing out like that extra cloth, so we won't feel so naked when going through these circumstances and situations. But you got to make sure that you're not an individual that do have alternative motives, because if you do have alternative motives, then the same things that you may be hiding may be the same things that get exposed, and now you have a negative light on you that you got to kind of transform and take power control over, because you may was lost into that desire or that demiurge and producing those types of fruits and biting it, emotionally justifying why you think this idea that this feeling just gave you is right. Only doing things that please the flesh, the snake, and not being able to tap into more of your higher natures when it comes to you having access to be able to communicate with those types of beings, men and women. Being a real men and women is just being a liking of those actual beings, those actual forms at a 1 to 1/3 dimension, playing out through these bodies, male and female. So those are things that we're trying to strive to become. When it comes to us becoming aware of our higher natures and getting out of our lower animalistic natures and things of those natures. So when it comes to understanding that, and Scorpio is going to be having us aware of these energies. So with the moon being in Scorpio, we're all going to be aware of our lower animalistic natures. And then what's the next? You got to kind of look at it like this. What's the next sign after Scorpio? We got Sagittarius. And what is Sagittarius? They correspond that to the Centaur. So with Sagittarius being correspondent to the Centaur, you know, this is going to be more of, you know, us having to set those aims. So it's pointing. It's like an arrow pointing to the stars, to our higher natures. So the Centaur represents half man, half logic, half thought. Our higher natures, and the lower half represents our lower natures, the Centaur, the animal, the beast. So when it comes to understanding this and understanding these energies, we got to make sure that we're not letting our animalistic natures kind of get the best of us. Because when looking at astrology and looking at astronomy, and once you be able to understand the essence of these things, this can kind of take you to a space where you're able to go to these spaces when it comes to the individuals that created all these signs and symbols to represent, you know, their zodiac wheel, and kind of see what type of space they was in and the type of indoctrinations that they was lost into when it comes to them utilizing things like animals and utilizing things like signs and sigils to kind of represent the natures. So this is why we look at astrology, and this is why they have animals on their astrological wheel instead of other types of things that they could have came up with in their mind, because these are the natures that they was kind of observing through people, places, and things, playing out these qualities and these characteristics as below. So they put an animal on Aries, they put a ram on Aries, they put a bull on Taurus. And in all actuality, in retrospect, when we was going through these times, these was probably the organs that, when it comes to our level of awareness, that we was able to create. So during those times, periods of times, we always probably rams, we always probably bulls. And then they got Gemini being a man, Castor and Pollux. So during those times, that may be a time where we evolved from that level of awareness and went into a greater form. So we started to develop more bodies that gave us the ability to be dual and look more like a human during those times. So we was able to utilize that intelligence to be able to create objects and put things together and utilize more logic and utilize more intellect instead of just being lost into, fourth dimensional energies. These probably was a time where we was able to actually respond to those fourth dimensional energies and have a little bit more intelligence behind what we're actually responding to, instead of us just being lost into those energies coming from those animalistic natures and having a higher awareness that we can actually be able to utilize those animalistic natures for things that can help us in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, our environment. So understanding that and understanding how we was able to put those 2 and 2 together and being able to utilize those energies to help us build that mind and that organ, going through those periods of times of evolution, carnation, incarnation, reincarnation. Now we have Gemini. Then what's after Gemini? We have Cancer. So Cancer represents the crowd. So they represented Cancer to the crowd. But it's actually the moon chakra. So it's actually the heart chakra. And how do we create the heart chakra? From the triangle. So we get the upright triangle and we get the downright triangle. So in both of the upright triangle are fire. Once we create that feeling, that vision, and hop into that feeling and that vision, and want to experience that feeling and that vision, once we emit those feelings and vision, we get a world, we create a womb. So the feeling and the vision represents the upright triangle, and the world that we externalize that from simultaneously become the inverted triangle. So the connection between that is the heart space, our ability to feel, vision, visualize, externalize, and our ability to internalize what we just externalize. And the connection between those 2 points, ideal problem solution, the connection between those 2 that bring those 2 together is the heart. So that's how we created our mind and how our mind condensed and became our organs. So the level of awareness that we're able to create those shapes and forms by being able to go through those processes and those mechanisms of becoming more intelligent of how we did that in the first place through experiences in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension. Just experiencing things, experiencing our creations, because that's all that we're doing. We create and then we hop into that creation to experience it, to be able to extract all the intelligence out of it. And then once that form expires, we're able to go back to the essence of where we created that form from. And then we're able to create something different, more evolved, because our spirit has expanded into a more evolved arena that we're able to utilize all the technology and information that we was able to, absorb, consume, and implode it, so we can go back to that space where the essence is at and explode the essence and add on extra, what is it called? Add on extra body part. I'm gonna add on extra technology to the subs that we utilize to hop into those vehicles and those spaceships. So it's like an extra extension that we use to create with the universe, to build on the universe, to build the mental blocks and concepts for God. So it's like we're building up God. We're building steps for God because God is nothing. And we always put ourselves in the space of making God something. All possibilities. So when it comes to experiencing what you just created and becoming aware of the whole totality of everything around you in existence, sharing those spaces with other spirits that's also hopping into these shapes and forms, but maybe lesser on a percentage level of being of going through that, spiritual travel of expansion and contraction. So they may be in like an animal body, a bug body, a body of a parasite. They don't have all the they don't have all the technology as a human. So they're not closer to the space and the essence where we're able to craft that from the atmosphere. How we all hopped into these, how we all created that mind and that organ first, because that plays out light as in density when it comes to us hopping into those spaces as a spirit, and that mind and awareness condensing and becoming our physical. What's physical? Creating something physical. Those clouds, those mental forms collapsing through the accumulation of adding on, addition, so we can become singular within that addition, being able to separate ourselves from those forms that we just created and going back to that space where we reside. And then once we go through that process of carnation, incarnation, and reincarnation, we're able to take what we just created and then utilize that as a stepping stool. Utilize what we just created as a stepping stool so that the next speciation and root race that's going through those travels, those astral travels, astral projecting and astral traveling, when it comes to the level of awareness and the information that they're aware of and the intelligence that they are able to be previewed to, what's relative to them, they're able to pick up a scent from what we just left behind and go down those same trains of thoughts and lines of reasonings so they can be able to take those vessels in those forms. So they can be able to experience that level of existence and awareness that we created, being a human. So this would be us building on steps for God and evolving this actual atmosphere, because it's spirits all around us. It's spirits taking shapes and forms of everything so they can be able to experience their level of awareness, what they can be consciously aware of. So understanding that and understanding how that plays out when it comes to astrology and anatomy as well, because all these things create our anatomy. So understanding how we're able to utilize these things for something that's it's more like a tool. So you got to kind of understand these things and not get lost into these things, because the more that you get lost into these things, the more separate that you're going to be, So when it comes to individuals utilizing these things to manipulate people, to control the world, it's kind of like they're utilizing it in an ungenuine way. So the way that they're utilizing it isn't the actual natural way that the spirit that's really in control of these things, the natural order of it, it goes against the current. So we're going to be, because all of us is going through a new shift right now. All of us is waking up. So all of us going through this new shift right now, our mind is open to be aware of new things and not just be limited to this small container, getting lost into the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension. We're all going through this new alien space-time. So with all of us going through this new alien space-time, we're all being a little bit more aware of things outside of us and being able to separate ourselves from the things that's external. So we may be a little bit more alienistic. We may feel a little bit more isolated. We may feel a little bit more detached from the world and things of those natures. So when it comes to, us feeling a little bit more detached, being a little bit more isolated, a little bit more alien, because we're all in our mind right now. So this is a new shift that we're going through. So with us being more in our mind and creating more bodies that suits that type of space, those types of spaces, eventually through periods and periods of time, these bodies are going to be the same things that's going to end up deteriorating because we already learned how to utilize these bodies, how to do everything that these bodies are capable of, and now it's time for us to experience something else that doesn't deal with having two left feet. I think it's those natures. So when it comes to us creating these new bodies for ourselves, and so we can start to create this new world where things is more lighter. So we're going to be taking the information, the technology that we experience in these realms of realities, being able to implode it, go back to that space where the essence is at, and implode it, or implode it and explode it. So now we're able to create a new mechanism, a new piping system. I think it's those natures. So once we all get there and start to create realms of reality with each other, this is us building a new world and being able to have new bodies and forms when it comes to our creatures, create new creatures. So we always going to keep our creature. We always going to keep our life path. So that's why it's good to understand numerology and geometry in your life path. So you can kind of know what to experience when going through that new, process, going through those new worlds that we're going to be creating. And we may not have words to explain, or we may not have words. So things gonna be a little bit more, it's gonna be more about emanation and feelings, not so much as words and being able to communicate. So you gotta kind of understand that because everything isn't about words. So they get us lost into things that deals with words when the spirit natural language don't have nothing to do with words in the first place. So, but we was going back, we don't see, animals and bugs and parasites and things of those natures utilizing words to be able to understand what's going on around them. They just emanate a sound or a vibration, and other animals are able to pick up on that vibration and kind of understand that vibration and where that vibration is coming from. So they know when it's danger around. So once they start vibrating, that kind of signals to them to let them know that it's time to start to, hide or get into camouflage or run away because it's creatures, it's something else bigger around. We got to start to, protect ourselves, shield ourselves, but things of those natures. So we all have this ability to communicate when it comes to, us just picking up the vibe or something, being sensitive to the senses and trusting your gut, trusting your intuition. So it's important to trust your gut and trust your intuition, because if you too lost into logic, if you too lost into the words and what's external, you may walk into a building and not know that it may be a killer in that building. But if you listen to your intuition, if you listen to your gut, that can kind of help you understand the actual vibration of the environment, because you may pick up this weird feeling because you're being sensitive to the senses. You may pick up this weird feeling about, dang, what if I go in that building? What if something's telling me not to go in that building? Something's warning me and signaling me not to go in that building. That'll be your gut. So you always got to trust your gut. You always got to trust your intuition and making sure that you be keen to those senses. Because if you're not keen to those senses and you're lost too much into your mind, you lost into too much to logic. You're too logical. You're being too logical. You're utilizing too many words. That can kind of blind you. And all those words and those lights that you create can kind of blind your intuition. So you being able to use the eyeballs that corresponds with the intuition, the yin realm, you're not able to drive sufficiently in the yin realm because you're too lost into the yang realm. So the yin realm It's dark. It deals with darkness. You don't have any eyes. It's all dark in the yin realm, so you can't see there. You just got to feel your way through the yin realm and know how to maneuver there through feelings and vibrations. So when you being too lost into the yang realm, logic, the Lucifer, information, things of those natures, you're not able to. It kind of blinds you because it plays out like a light in the yin realm. So with that being a light in the yin realm, that kind of takes you away from being able to be sensitive to the senses there, and those senses may be a little bit more expanded than the senses that you have in the yang realm, because that's like where the essence and the substance come from to create the yang realm in the first place. That's within, so without. So if we're not able to, have sufficient eyeballs, because we all got eyeballs everywhere. It's weird. We all got eyeballs. So if you don't have the sufficient eyeballs and able to see in the yin realm, you may get blinded by everything in the yang realm, everything that's external, everything that's in front of you, and you end up being guilty by association in the yang realm because you wasn't sufficient enough to think, to be light, and to be free in the yin realm. When if you would have trusted your intuition and trusted your gut, you could have prevented circumstances and situations to play out in the yang realm. Being in the wrong place for all time, accidents happening, you getting taken advantage over, you being in a place where there's a killer. These are those natures. So you always gotta trust your intuition. Always gotta trust your gut. So, that correlates and corresponds more to the astrology. So the meanings and the reasons that you're able to place behind what's going on externally, the time and the date, people, places, and things, the astronomy, the left brain energies. So we got two minds, two sides of our minds: left brain, astronomy; right brain, astrology. So understanding how to utilize both sides of our mind, that's how you'll be able to be the author and the creator of how these circumstances and situations play out, and you'll be a little bit more well-rounded instead of you being lost into one hemisphere and ignoring your emotional natures, your feminine natures, being too lost into your masculine natures, and then on the flip side, being too lost into your feminine natures and ignoring things that deals with your masculine natures. And what you need to do there, you have some form of equilibrium, you have some form of balance, so you can utilize both of them, so it won't be like a tug of war, so you won't feel imbalanced within yourself. And then when it comes to you producing the right thoughts and feelings, ideas and visions, you won't become unbalanced, because these things play out like a blood cycle. Plasma, your imaginations, these imaginations that you're envisioning and pushing out and externalizing, plays out like blood plasma that condenses and becomes your actual blood cycle. So if those two things up there are unbalanced, you can best believe it that you're going to become unbalanced when it comes to your actual blood cycle and your anatomy. So when it comes to your hormones, you may get hormonal imbalances. You may develop too much testosterone, or you may develop too much estrogen. So being in a male body where your percentage level of testosterone is already higher than your estrogen, you being too much into your left brain energies, your feminine energies, developing too much estrogen, you're going to become unbalanced. And you may start to play out, you may start to push out beta male fumes, being too much into your woman, being too much into your emotions, not being able to be logical, not being able to be practical, not being able to be structured. And if you are female, already dealing with more of the percentage level of the right brain feminine curve energy, you may already be too lost into your left brain masculine energy. That can kind of, mess up your hormonal imbalances as well in your anatomy. When it comes to, you may be too masculine. So this is going to be a fluctuation between your moods. You may be too masculine. You may be too much into your structure and logic energy. So this is going to be, messing up your cycles, your emotional cycles, and how your body works, your periods and things of those natures. And then on the flip side, that can also happen if you're around too many females. Y'all been too much into y'all moods. Y'all been too much into y'all woman. Y'all may throw off each other's periods and things of those natures. Being around too many women, having too many emotions on y'all mind, not being able to think logically, and things of those natures. So you got to kind of understand how these things are playing out when it comes to our anatomy and our body, so we can be able to understand how we can utilize both of these things, so we can be able to have it work in synchronicity with the natural order of the world, the universe that's inside you, being in synchronicity with the shapes and forms and lights and mentalities that's outside of you. So aligning yourself, doing your 360, make sure that you do your 360, so you can be able to see everything that's around you, so you can put yourself in the space of nothingness, getting out of everything that deals with something, so you can be more closer to that. You can be more subjective of being in that nothingness space that represents all possibilities. And these are those natures. So individuals get consumed into something all the time, being in search, being lost, and search for light, LITE, not knowing that we emanate and create these things. So the better that you're able to understand that you're emanating and creating everything that's outside of you, you will know how to maneuver and know how to attract the things that's for you, so that you can be able to add those things on, like extra tissue or extra clothing or an extension to whatever you got going on, that all possibilities and God need you to be doing and being a vessel of, so that you can be able to, experience something new, and God will be able to experience something new through you. So that'll be you helping build God, and not going out being in search for light, Lucifer, getting manipulated, getting taken advantage over, getting the short end of the stick, getting put on guilt trips, or putting other individuals on guilt trips, because you may not know how to deal with your internal natures. So you got to kind of understand what's going on. So when it comes to you producing these fruits in the esoteric realm attracts other spirits. So with these fruits that you're producing that's more godly, attracting other spirits, it plays out like a esoteric juicy candy in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. So you got to know when to produce your fruits and when not to produce your fruits. When to have some fruits for yourself, and when you need to be giving some out to the world. Because if you don't know how to, if you kind of give all of your fruits away that you need to be producing for yourself, and you give it to too many other people, you're going to end up feeling, drained. You're going to end up feeling victimized because you gave too many of your pearls to swines. So you got to keep in mind and make sure that you're not giving too much of your energy away to other individuals that may use it and abuse it and use it for alternative reasons, because they may not be in the right space spiritually to be able to reciprocate that energy with you. So you got to kind of understand what's going on. So you're going to end up getting taken advantage over when it comes to you creating and producing fruits, so that you can feel nourished, creative gifts and talents that can help you have some sense of fulfillment at things of those natures. So you got to make sure that you're understanding those energies, so you can start to put yourself in the right spaces, so that you can start to produce fruit for God. So producing fruits for God, that's going to be things that's going to be helping you and your creativity be able to flourish and go the distance. So it's kind of all about going the distance, because we, as a spiritual root race and spirits in these bodies, we're so stuck and confined too close to each other, sharing spaces. And these spaces that we be lost into be limited spaces, be small worlds that other individuals created so that we can have a sense of comfortability and things of those natures. So when it comes to all of us being in these smaller spaces, We may have some groups of spirits in one area, one tribal area, feeling like the other groups of spirits in the other tribal area isn't respecting the whole the whole totality of the space, because they may still be lost into their self-serving energies, and with them still being lost into their self-serving energies, they may be producing, bad fruits. That when it comes to all of us in this tribe trying to produce good fruits for, God and the universe, for God and all possibilities, are the fruits that they're producing and creating may get tainted. So this is where, individuals who was able to create all these things that deals with security, stability, safety, shelter, and accountability, this is where their role come from, and how they was kind of utilizing people of this native land to go to war with each other. So they gave this group, this tribe, things that deals with, money, security, stability, safety, accountability, and made them go against another tribe. So it was all a manipulation tactic that they brought over here, because they wasn't indigenous, they wasn't native to this land. So they just came over here with some type of invader mentality and looked at everything like, okay, it's milk and honey. I'm finna capitalize. I'm finna, how the trees, how the wind, how the atmosphere, how the rivers and seas look over here. We don't have that over there. So I'm finna use all of this for, so I can be able to, power up. I can be able to power up, you know what I'm saying? So even when it comes down to them having to eliminate and exterminate the people, places, and things, the original spirits that was originally in this space, in these spaces, from their mind, being in the condensing and becoming the environment, who created these things. So those spirits in those spaces are going to be looking at everything around them differently. So when it comes to them, talking to animals, that animal that they may be talking to, that's why Indians are so, correlated to animals, because they may have just left that, that race. And that animal may be a family member of theirs. You know what I'm saying? It gets that deep. So when it comes to individuals coming over here looking at everything, trying to capitalize, seeing how the animals are, seeing how the trees, how the seas are, wanted to be able to take some power and control by utilizing force and making trades and manipulation tactics. This is where racism come from. And also get into, raping and pillaging these individuals as well. This is where racism come from. So bringing, because they already did this, they already kind of understood this energy and how to get with the program, because they was doing this in the eastern continents. When it comes to them taking over people's minds, first take over the mind, then, wherever the mind go, the body follow. Creating mutts, things of those natures, because those individuals wasn't structured. Those individuals didn't have the structure in the governmental, like how the Indians had the structure in the governmental and the spiritual practices. So the Indians, they capitalized, they specialized on the spiritual practices, and they had the governmental. But these individuals had the governmental, and it was real hard with the governmental and the business. So they was able to come up with melted metals a little bit more faster, because they wasn't really too much into the spirit. So they look at the spirit, they look at emotions and feelings like that's something we need to get rid of. We need to be more hard. We need to be more sturdy. We need to be more about, we need to be more about structure and discipline. So this is what made them kind of like left brain more. And the Indians, they kind of like more right brain. They don't really care about all the discipline and all the structure. They more about the creativity, the creative aspects, because they kind of came to the conclusion. So this is what made them hard spiritually, because they was able to come to the conclusion that they already created everything and environment around them, and they are the actual sperma seeds from these things that evolved and became the actual organ in the human vessel through the process of creation, mutation, and evolution. So they actually understood how to sacrifice these things and how to create and produce the right fruits to give to God, so they could be able to become something greater and this lesser form that they're already in, getting more intelligence over, utilizing their actual natural technology. So that's the type of energies that they specialized into. But the people, I'm gonna say the Germans and the French and the Englishmen, they specialize in the actually getting and utilizing the things from the nature and creating actual buildings and technology, actual technologies like phone devices, satellites, and things of those natures, cars, gadgets, um, guns, things of those natures. So that's where foreign exchange come from, because the Indians knew the spiritual practice, and that's what made them hard. And the French and the Englishmen knew the actual physical practice. But that's where the clash started coming from, metaphysical and physical. Because the Indians' viewpoint, knowing that everything deals more with the metaphysical, and seeing how the metaphysical was getting taken advantage over and used for the physical, being used in reverse, they kind of knew that that's how the world is being, that's how things is being used in reversed. Instead of us being able to expand the metaphysical, we're actually, doing it doing it in reverse. The Germans and the Greeks didn't understand, so they would steady utilizing the physical for a representation of the metaphysical. So this is why they're lost into the physical, and this is why they always going through levels of incarnation, reincarnation, and to employ them back into an organ that's familiar to the shapes and forms that's down here, because they don't know how to actually understand the spiritual aspects of the metaphysical and to physical. But that's a whole that deals more with, creating a new world, creating a new atmosphere. And because we come from this atmosphere, we're all seeds that comes from that sea. So we can be able to see things of those natures. But these individuals was creating dams to block us from being able to see by observing other organisms like beavers from being able to block the godly consciousness to be able to, to flow freely and things of those natures. So that's why individuals feel damned all the time. Why do you say damn for something bad happened when you got something in your mind that's blocking you from being able to walk through that tunnel? You feel damn, like you're like damn, because you blocked by one of these man-made types of structures that put you in that vibration. So dams are utilized to block river flow, ocean flows, not river flows. So they utilize this technique from observing birds to create actual man-made dams to stop the atmosphere from being able to go through that go through that water flow and actually build up or corrode the actual environment around it, so that things can become more compact, and then we start to get the formation of mountains. So with them stopping that process, you can kind of see how they pulled that and how they're kind of utilizing that on a metaphysical level as well. When it comes to their concepts and their indoctrinations that they're coming up with to get people, to blind people, make people feel damned, to blind people when it comes to them utilizing their eye up there, but being too aware of things utilizing these two eyes. So they're asleep up here, but they're fully woke down here, being aware, looking around at everything around them, down in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, not knowing that, got everybody in reverse. So that's where the clash come from between the Indians and the Germans and the Europeans. So when it comes to understanding your astronomy, your astrology, and your anatomy, you got to kind of understand how to kind of utilize these things for yourself as a BITCH, and not let what other people have got us lost into. Now we're lost into the anatomy, not knowing nothing about the astronomy and astrology. Or you may be lost into the astrology, being too left brain, not knowing nothing about the astronomy, the spiritual practices, and not knowing how that's affecting the anatomy. Or you may be too lost into the astrology, not knowing nothing about the astronomy, the time and the date, You may just know about the astronomy, Virgo, not knowing how to utilize the astrology or the astronomy, and how that affects the anatomy. So you all over the place. You're confused. So you playing like this confusion spirit. You indecisive. You lost into a program. You lost into a system. You lost into a construct, and things of those natures. So when it comes to you having to kind of actually go outside and see how these things are made, and we got individuals on the internet, you know what I'm saying, that can give you that direction. There's a whole bunch of people on the internet, especially in subconscious community. So this is why the subconscious community is here, to help give people that direction, so they won't be lost into any part of their mind. So you can go to that subjective space and location and see how these things are being created. So shout out to everybody in the subconscious community. But when it comes to individuals, trying to help individuals and give people the message so they can start to go down these trains of thoughts and lines of reasons themselves, they'll try to shadow ban us or block us or stop us in our tracks, so we won't be able to reach a successful position. Because this is how they want the world to be. They want to have people divided, lost into this part of the mind, lost into that part of the mind, lost into that, lost into everything, just lost individuals, lost tribes. That's how they want the world to be. That's how they like to govern their world. So they can kind of have that iron fist to rule over individuals, minds, mentalities, spirits that's coming in and out of this, spirits that's coming in and out of this realm of reality. So that's kind of demonic, and that's not the actual all possibilities God that everybody need to be intertwining and connecting to. There's people working for Lucifer, being Luciferian, being demons. So the God that they're creating is a jealous God, because once a all possible child, a real child of God, come back and start to express themselves better than they can ever express themselves when it comes to things that they have built, dealing with things that deals with business, education, entertainment, religion, and politics. Us being able to utilize these things and take it a distance, they're gonna get jealous about that, because we're not doing it in their shadow government constructed mental illness type of way. We're doing it in a more all possible type of way. Having to come from the ground up and do it, do it ourselves, do it solo dolo. Whether we get the likes, the validation, or the attentions or not. It's all about the energy signature behind it. It's all about just pushing out these fumes into the universe. Because, when it comes to understanding this type of mysticism, and once you get out of all these indoctrinations and kind of get out of all these rose-colored filter system matrix glasses, you can kind of go to a different space where you start to see things differently, where you start to see how the atmosphere is moving. And that'll become your lens. And the better that you're able to communicate on that level, more angelically, instead of you communicating demonically, utilizing technology, man-made words, you can kind of go to that space, how the atmospheres are communicating. And it's more about the vibration. It's more about the feet that you're pushing out. It's more about the state of being that you're able to travel to and be able to produce a fruit there. And then how you're able to utilize that substance in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension to kind of hop into one of these vehicles to experience that light, L-I-T-E, light and weight. So when it comes to you being aware of those types of natures and how that's the new, how that's something new that's being produced and being created, eventually these bodies, these words, things that's outside of us isn't really going to be sufficient enough to withstand that actual current, that current of events, that sea. So if you're not producing currency up there, and you lost into the currency, things of current events that's being played out into the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, if you're not creating a sufficient spaceship, a sufficient mentality to be able to communicate in that way, understanding our higher natures, not being lost into the anatomy and the astrology down here, being able to craft and fashion these things up there, that's going to be you building on with the universe and all possibilities. So by default, you're going to become more intelligent, and everybody, every species that's lost into these lenses down here, these eyeballs down here, and you're going to become more aware of how to fashion those types of eyeballs and creatures up there. So your next transition, when this melt away, because you're not going to be able to take these shapes and forms anymore because you have expanded your mind, you went the distance. When it comes to you already knowing that everything is a fashion of that, and the better that you can get a grip of that substance, you're gonna be able to know where all these things stem from, even when it comes to languages, mathematics, and things of those natures. So by default, let's say for instance, you hop back into one of these vehicles, these vessels, but you was already going down the path of knowing astrology, knowing yourself, knowing about yourself, but you carnate back into a current circumstance down here, and things of those natures, so you can be able to, be a teacher or expand something down here. You're already going to be more intelligent than everybody around you, and you may not even, need these words or need the actual school programs and things of those natures, because you're going to be seeing it for what it is, and you're going to be seeing how that's actually utilized negatively against you, and it's kind of disrespectful because you are already like a greater spirit in a greater position than all this down here already. So it may be disrespectful, so you may be rebellious against all those things, but you got to know how to use your energy. You got to know how to temper down your energy and make sure that you don't get too rebellious, and make sure that you don't start to motivating people to rebel against things, because those, you can't take a fish out the water too soon, because if you take a fish out the water too soon, you may not know like what you may fuck their mind up. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to fuck nobody's mind up too soon, especially if you're a powerful spirit hopping back into these vessels and these vehicles and things of those natures, utilizing these things, knowing that you are already something different, and you may just be, may not even know why you may be experiencing these things again. May not even know why you may be experiencing this level of life again. You know what I'm saying? But that's how it may play out. So you got to be careful. You may actually fuck somebody's mind up, trying to take them away from, trying to take them out of the water. The sea that they need to be seeing in, the lives that they need to be sitting in too soon. You gotta let people get to this space themselves. You gotta let people get to the water themselves. You gotta let people get to the river themselves. So this is like the process that humanity is on. So we got to make sure that we're actually, pushing out these energies, pushing out this new information, pushing out this new intelligence into the world, regardless if we're being blocked on the internet or not. Because you got to keep in mind, when it comes to the godly, angelic language that's going on, sometimes you don't need these things that's in front of us. It may just be the vibe. You may not, you may just emit a vibration, push it out into the universe, somebody else pick it up in their environment. Next thing you know, they go down the transit, they may pick up that thought and that feeling in the environment, that star you just pushed off, that awareness you just pushed off, because you know how to become aware, because the awareness, the halo that you create, it may take over geographical, you know what I'm saying? The awareness that you create may just take over geographical locations, different spaces, and it may just like eradicate all the little lesser or small awarenesses that was in those spaces being produced, people hopping in, spirits hopping inside those awarenesses, giving life to it and things of those natures. You know how to go to that space where these things actually get derived from, you know what I'm saying? So you go to that space, create a big ass awareness, a big ass halo, you know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to get the whole world, you know what I'm saying? So you may just like abduct somebody. You create a big ass spaceship that can just go around and abduct people, and it may ain't got nothing to do with the technology. You know what I'm saying? You may just got there, just be being yourself, and then people just become aware. People just start to get different ideas. People just start to get different feelings about the world around them, because you changing the piping system of the world. You changing the world, just changing the piping system. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we got to do. We all changing the piping system. We getting people back closer to God. Getting them unindoctrinated. Getting them from being lost into, you know, technology and man-made things of that nature, so they can get back more to their natural, those natural spaces where their spiritual predecessors may be at, and where their spiritual predecessors may, you know, want them to be in, so they can start to receive this godly heavenly knowledge and things of those natures. So that's how you really be an angel in the atmosphere. And you know, just hopping online could just be an extra add-on to what you got going on to speed up the process and things of those natures. But with you practicing, you know, these energies as below, making sure that you're putting in that energy work, making sure that you're actually acting out the things that's on your mind and expressing the things that's on your mind when it comes to your creative gifts and talents. Make sure that you're expressing these things as below, so that these things don't just become a hell that you sit in, knowing that you need to be expressing all these godly gifts and talents that's on your mind, things of those natures. You ignoring the signs and the messages that God's trying to give you. So you're not trying to develop a purpose. So I always got to keep that in mind as well when it comes to understanding these energies and making sure that you are expressing the things on your mind, making sure that you are expressing your godly gifts and talents, because you may never know what type of circumstance that those things may create for you. And instead of you living for the world, you're able to do things where your creativity is able to put you in a permissible and a profitable position, so that you get to put in less time of the world but get more out of it, instead of you putting in more time of the world and getting less out of it. Because that's the type of witchcraft that they got all of us in right now, when it comes to them trying to block us online, them trying to block us from being able to come together and create community and things of those natures, because they want to see us be able to succeed. So they're trying to put all of us in a dam, in a hell. They don't want this godly consciousness to be pushed out, so it can wake other individuals up, so they can start to play out those traits and characteristics, understanding astrology, anatomy, astronomy, and just their mind in general, so they can start to have their mind on the right things and be able to think for themselves, think a little bit more sufficiently, be a little bit more sophisticated when it comes to how the interaction between the mind and the body is playing out, but not getting lost into both of these things, but just being able to utilize it as a bitch, because these are the some things that we created coming from that nothing space. And God is nothing. God is non-existence. But we still have that ability to make nothing look like something. So we all got a piece of God. So you got to kind of understand that, and don't feel down about yourself because you may have people, places, and things in your environment that make you question your godly gifts and talents, or just your upbringing that make you question your godly gifts and talents and your abilities. So you may be in a space of feeling incapable of being actually able to go to these esoteric locations, so that you can start to put yourself in a space where you're more subjective to everything around you, but your subjectiveness and one to a third dimension plays out like something objective, because you're not lost into all the somethings that everybody else is lost into, because you already know the space that these things originate from. So the better that you're able to go down those trains of thoughts and lines of reasons, the better that you will be able to actually put yourself in a more healthier space, so that you won't be playing out energies of making deals and shaking hands with the devil at things of those natures. But yeah, that's kind of getting us more, you know, lost into the world. But still got to make sure that, you know, you understanding things like astrology, anatomy, and astronomy, and what to put your beliefs in. Because if you have the wrong beliefs, if you don't have the right beliefs, you're gonna end up, you know, making the wrong decisions and getting blood in your hands, because you may be lost into all these indoctrinations, practicing denomination, not knowing that the things that you're kind of, you know, the types of spells that you're casting, the types of, you know, people, places, and things that you're manifesting, the types of energies that you may be lost into, the types of worldviews that you may be governed under, may be the same things that was planted here to destroy you. And you may be giving your esoteric currency to that belief system, not knowing that you're being your own worst enemy, not knowing that you're actually doing things that plays out not in your favor in the 123rd dimension. So you doing things that deals more with you getting lesser of the, lesser of the percentage level, lesser of God, because you're lost into this world, believing in the bullshit, the lies of this world. So you got to keep that in mind as well, and make sure that you're not letting those things overcome you and change your motives and make you cold-hearted and make you feel some type of way, because you may not be getting in that position that you desire fast enough, but you may see other individuals get there. So this will be where you have to kind of develop the wisdom and understand that it's not about how fast you get there, and it's not about how you get there. It's about what you know what to do. Do you know what to do with that energy when you get there? Because if you don't know what to do with that energy when you get there, you're going to be used as an example or a person, place, or thing. So when others got there, others will be able to sit back and see you come and go in and out of that position. So mainly, it's about kind of understanding and valuing the space that you're in right now. Because the better that you can value the space that you're in right now, even though you may not see yourself, even though you may not be in that position that you desire, that you see yourself in yet, it's really more about, just cherishing that. Because you don't want to be opening yourself up to too many people anyway, when you may end up getting put into a scenario or a circumstance that you may not be ready for, and then you end up getting taken advantage. You end up falling off. That's saying, you ain't built up no back pocket energy. You ain't got nothing that you can fall back on. So you end up, being lost into the world, having to do it again. But you may not make it as far as you did last time. So I gotta keep that in mind as well. But you gotta keep in mind that, that's where the learning process is be coming from. So you're always gonna be learning. You gotta kind of learn how to, respect the spaces that you're in and value the spaces that you're in and cherish what you got. Cherish what God gave you. Even though it may look like nothing, it's gonna be something at the end of the day. It's gonna be a creative gift of talent. It's gonna be good art skills, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be good music making. Even though that you ain't got that $1 million mansion, you still got this gift and talent that's worth more than that $1 million mansion. Because what God gave you, you know what to do with it. You know how to use it. You didn't abuse it. You didn't give it away to other individuals. And you was cherishing it. You was being consistent with it. And then eventually, slowly but surely, God may even put you in a circumstance or a situation that's more broader than the position that you thought that you wanted to be in. So this is really you utilizing your power and utilizing your ability and what God gave you, and not taking advantage over it, giving it to other individuals, giving that piece of you away to somebody that didn't deserve it. Because at the end of the day, they'll go drain somebody else, so they can have a piece of that demon fruit, that demon seed that they may have been in search for, because they're in search. When you with God, you're not in search. You already know that you have everything around you, and you are the energy yourself. You're the walking vibration. You're the walking embodiment of what everybody else is in search for. So the better that you're able to know that, that's how you know sometimes you got to say no. You got to go back to that no space. You got to say no sometimes. You know what I'm saying? You got to be like, no. No matter how good it may look in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension. Because everything that glitters isn't gold. Always keep that in mind as well. You got to know how to say no sometimes. You got to be like, no. So that you can still have that peace, that sense of peace. So that you can be more with God without all the worry and the stress and being in toxic circumstances and situations, creating situationships, soul ties that in reality we all need to be getting out of, so we can create this new atmosphere and this new environment that we can fly freely, that isn't so limited. And we had to top off in that bitch. You know what I'm saying? How to motherfucking top off in that bitch. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, when it comes to humanity, it may take like humanity a couple of more eons. Also, it take humanity like a couple more eons, you know what I'm saying, to get to some of these spaces. but you can skip timelines. You know what I'm saying? Be a motherfucking you'll be the real astro traveler. You know what I'm saying? You come back, you be cold. You'll be a real astro traveler. Be a real astro, be a real star walker in this bitch. You know what I'm saying? Be able to skip timelines. You just want to be reprobated, lost into timelines, lost into everything of the world. You know what I'm saying? Lost into the good jiggles and everything. You'll be like, you appreciate it. You can appreciate it from a distance, but don't get lost into it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Just don't get lost into it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, hey, I'm just saying though. If you find somebody with the same purpose, that's on that same frequency vibration as you, hey, don't knock it. You know what I'm saying? Don't knock it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's kind of hard. That's rare. That's hard. That's hard nowadays. You know what I'm saying? How relationships is being. Everybody lost into sauce. Everybody, it's like everybody's lost right now. So nobody don't know their soul tribe. Nobody don't know where they're coming to going. Nobody don't know the actual truth. Everybody just lying to themselves. Everybody's lying to themselves because we've been lied to for so many years. Shit, we've been lied to since the creation of time. Shit, so nobody knows what's actually going on. So everybody just fucking. You know what I'm saying? Everybody just fucking out of wedlock, creating mutts. People ain't even having babies no more. It ain't even no new possible spirits that's being brought into this world. It's more demons. So you gotta know what's going on. Like you could skip all this shit. You know what I'm saying? You could just skip, just jump through the loop. Ever seen that movie? What's that movie? Everybody know Back to the Future. Yeah, that movie. That's a. You could be like Back to the Future in this bitch, but like the real one, plot the real Back to the Future in this bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like actually, be able to skip timelines and shit. Actually be able to jump through stargates and portals and shit. You know what I'm saying? Keep the same abilities. Keep the same. Know how to create a spaceship and ship. Just cover ship back through these bitches. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. Real shit. Real shit. But you gotta know how to do it though. It just ain't no goddamn. It can be like a snap or a snap off, but it takes time. It takes a good time to get there. You gotta be in the right spaces. You can't have too much stuff on your mind now. You can't be thinking about goddamn sports and football all the time. Now you gotta have the right people, but that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. We're here to help people. We're here to help people be able to get to these spaces and goddamn be able to walk through stargates and portals and shit. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. But that's the mission. That's the mission that we all need to be on. Becoming space travelers. So the more that we in that world mentally, we're gonna be able to create the environment physically. But gonna be playing out metaphysically, because we already in the metaphysical world. We just lost into limbo right now, being in these bodies. So this body, us being in this body, is just a confirmation that we lost into limbo as spirits. And we gotta get out of limbo. You know what I'm saying? We all gotta get out of limbo. We gotta get out of this purgatory that we lost in. So that's why you gotta make sure that you create your own mind. You thinking for yourself. Because if you're not creating your own mind, if you're not thinking for yourself, you have the possibilities of getting lost into somebody else's mind. And in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, if that person isn't fucking, if that person isn't creating no new beautiful children, no new beautiful angels and things of those natures, you're gonna be stuck in that person's mind forever. Until that person is until that person inspire. And you don't want that person to inspire and get left behind, because that person inspired, get left behind, and no more spirits around that gets to hop back into those types of vessels to kind of help that spirit out. That bit might just become gravel or some shit. It's like you gotta peep games. That's a spiritual world that goes on, but that's what angels is here for. So things won't get to that level. So everybody can be saved. Everybody can go to heaven. Every last spirit, every last one of y'all, we can go to heaven. You know what I'm saying? Every last one of you, we can get to heaven. You better believe it. But yeah, that's why you got to kind of respect some spirits that's kind of here to help us evolve, because we all can make it. We all do it. We all can make all possibilities possible. But first, you got to know yourself. It may take a couple of lifetimes for most of these reprobates most of these humans to get it because they still maybe lost it to Christianity and grandma religion and things of those nature. So it may take a couple of more lifetimes for them to get it. Eventually, we all gonna be able to get to the waters. We all gonna be able to make it to heaven. People's gotta eventually start to wake up. People's gotta eventually start to, understand and see things for what they are. But yeah, I hope I enjoyed this video, man. Moon finna get ready to go into Sagittarius. So with the moon getting ready to go into Sagittarius, we're all gonna be a little bit more aware of these energies and be a little bit more in tune and sensitive to our spiritual natures and our spiritual practices. So we got to make sure when it comes to the moon getting ready to go into Sagittarius, and with the sun being in Libra, we got to have to kind of look at our relationships and see if the people, places, the things that we're related to match our spiritual system, match our purpose, match our moralities, and make sure that we're not just manifesting reprobates. People, places that plays out and lost into those, natures and qualities that end up taking us away from our spiritual practices and our spiritual natures and making us feel caged. So now we're not able to expand. Now we got to play out some escapism energy, you know what I'm saying? Things of those natures. So you got to keep that in mind, peep game, on what's actually going on in the world. So you won't end up becoming one of those reprobates, agreeing to those desires, agreeing to those terms and conditions, and things of those natures. But yeah, it's been Who Like 360. Hope you enjoyed this video. Peace.